evening, class. I'm Catherine, and I'm going to discuss professional wrestling. Having been a fan of professional wrestling for 40 plus years, I was surprised when Dr. Schultz suggested looking into the history of professional wrestling for this assignment. However, to my surprise, there have been several dissertations pertaining to professional wrestling. I have looked at two completely different dissertations on professional wrestling to use in this assignment. Professional wrestling emerged in the late 1860s and early 1870s in post Civil War America. It usually was a traveling carnival that came to town and had experienced wrestlers who would offer open challenges to audience members. This was done mainly for gambling and betting purposes. This is how wrestling emerged into what we watch on television today. The first dissertation is from a graduate student from the University of Florida who examines how the body of a professional wrestler moves and works through during their training. The long-term bodily wear on some professional wrestlers result in early death as a cost of pursuing their lifelong dream. The second dissertation is from a student from California State University at Sacramento. He looks at the history of professional wrestling and diversity within the wrestling industry. He mainly focuses on the wrestling territory of Northern California. In the dissertation, The Labors of Professional Wrestling, the Dream, the Drive, the Debilitation, Brooks Olsby argues how taxing a professional wrestling can be on one's body. The context Mr. Olsby provides is done through literature and accounts from actual wrestlers. In Chapter 2, he discusses the chronic wearing of the wrestler's body and suggests that reduction in travel days could help the body to heal. The schedule for many WWE wrestlers back in the day was at least 300 or more days on the road and doing shows. The new wrestling promotion AEW has taken that advice and originally only have their wrestlers show up for one day of wrestling unless there is a special pay-per-view event. The AEW schedule for wrestlers was travel day on Tuesday to the location of the show, which would be on Wednesday, do their live show named Dynamite from 8 to 10 p.m., and then after their live show went off the air, they would tape a 1-hour show called Rampage that would air on Fridays. By doing this allowed for the body to heal and not get worn down so quickly. Mr. Oglesby's methodology was the combination of literature review and personal experience as he signed up to join a wrestling school to train to become a professional wrestler. There were ample sources used within this research, from primary source to secondary sources, that supported his claim of how the business of professional wrestling takes its toll on the body. Mr. Oglesby's thesis was proven to be true, as fans can see how former wrestlers now struggle to do basic things like even walk without the assistance of medical equipment. The second dissertation, Big Time, A History of Professional Wrestling and Diversity in Northern California by Robert Hinkey, looks at the history of professional wrestling and the diversity within the business. Mr. Hinkey used a number of sources, from seeking out video content from the local television station to tracking down the photographers who worked for the local promotion to obtain photos that would be used for his digital exhibit. Quantitative methodology was used as Mr. Hinkey conducted research to support his thesis and came to his conclusion. Mr. Hinkey divided up his dissertation into 3 sections. A historical context section, where a decent amount of history is given on professional wrestling and its 200-year history. The methodology, where he discusses his process in creating a digital exhibit and writing his paper. And then the histography, where he examines what other historians have said regarding professional wrestling and diversity. Mr. Hinkey used many primary sources, like the book From Rim Rock When It Was Big Time, a 100-year history of Northern California professional wrestling. The author's conclusion supports his claim about the diversity in professional wrestling as it pertains to Northern California. While professional wrestlers of other ethnicities has had a more difficult road, the road is not as difficult as it was when African American wrestlers could only wrestle African American wrestlers or were not allowed to perform in certain places due to the segregation and Jim Crow laws of the South. Both dissertations allow for different views on wrestling and wrestlers in general. Thank you.